we're going to do some highlights for the spirit books. We are not going to do all the introduction, the spirit books, because it's a huge introduction. That's what we're going to do some highlights of it. I apologize, sometimes I speak Portuguese and English, but we're doing some highlights, and then we're going to start to do some questions that is given on the spiritual books. But the highlights are very important, and that's why I'm not skipping the highlights, okay? But I apologize for that, but it's very important. The reason why I'm saying that, I'm gonna explain. Recently, I watched from Morgan Freeman, The Story of God, which is a beautiful, and I recommend to anyone to watch. He went through to many religions around the world, and he traveled for many parts of the world. But unfortunately, he lacked to show the spiritism. And I felt the call to show the spiritism because this is the one religion he didn't show. And it is so important because many of his questions that he asked, it is right here in the spiritism. And I like to show to all of you that the questions that he asked, who or what is God, is here in the spirits of book. And it is, God is with them, is with us. We have God with us. God is infinite. God lives with us. God is any one of us. He also asked, what is evil? Evil also lives on us. And evil can depart from us. It is not God's punishment what is happening around the world. We are responsible for everything we do, the good and the bad. We choose to do good and we choose to do bad. And we're going to respond to the goods and bads that we do. That is our responsibility. We have to do good. We have to respond for the bads we do. That is on us. He also asked, what happened to us after life? It's also in the Spirit's book. If we do good, we're going to grow. And we gotta prospect and have an evolution for the goods we did. It become bad and better. But if we do bad, in my belief, we have to come back in order to grow. I don't believe that we come back on animals like some religions. We will come back in human form so we can grow. God is not punishment. God is good always. Always God is good. What is not good, it's us. We are the ones responsible for goods and bads. And I, Cristina, I believe on that. Whatever we do good or whatever we do bad, we're going to respond for that. That's what me, Cristina, I believe. But let's go back to our lessons. Our lessons are important. Whatever we do today will reflect on us, especially. And it will reflect on my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, my children. Will reflect around everything surround me. That is the most important lesson that we have to learn. So going back to your studies, Allan Kardec says, for new ideas, new words are needed in order to secure clearness of language by avoiding the confusion inseparable from the employment of the same terms for expressing different meanings. The word spiritual, spiritualist, spiritualism have a definitive accepted. To give them a new one in order to apply them to the doctrine set forth by spirits would be to multiply the causes of amphibology already so numerous. Strictly speaking, spiritualism is the opposite of materialism. Everyone is spiritualistic who believes that there is in him something more than matter, but does not follow that he believes in the existence of spirits or in their communication with the visible world. So it's two different things. Someone can be a spiritist, which believes that it is a communication between this world and the spiritual world, and a spiritualism which has a material world but is not a communication with the spiritual world. That is the difference. Instead, therefore, of the words spiritual, spiritualism, we employ to designate this later belief the words spiritism, spiritism, which by their form indicated the origin and radical meaning, and have thus the advantage of being perfectly intelligible. And we reserve the words spiritualism, spiritualist, for the expression of the meaning attached to them by common acception. We say then that the fundamental principle of the Spiritist theory, or Spiritism, is the relation of the material world with spirits, or the beings of the invisible world, and we designated the adherents of the spirit theory as spiritists. So the spiritist is the adherence with invisible world. So this is the first highlight, is the difference of the words that we apply, okay? So this is the first highlight. We have to see the different meanings of the word. According to Orders, again, the soul is a moral being, distinct, independent of matter, and preserving its individuality after death. This acception of the word soul is certainly the one most generally received, because under one name or another, The idea of a being that survives the body, it's found as an instinct belief and independently of all teaching among all nations, whatever the degree of civilization. This doctrine, according to which the soul is a cause and not an effect, is that of the spiritualistics. So we have a soul, and that's what the spiritualistics believe. Okay? Without discussing the value of these opinions and considering the subject merely under its philosophical aspect, we say that these three applications of the word soul constitute three different ideas, which we demands a different term. Soul has therefore a triple meaning and is employed by each school according to the special meaning is attributed to that word. In order to avoid the confusion naturally resulting from the use of the same word to express three different ideas, it would be necessary to confine the word to one of the three ideas, would no matter to which, provided the choice were clearly understood. We think more natural to take it the most common acception, and for this reason we employ the word soul to indicate that the immaterial and individual being resides in us and survives the body. So we all got to agreement that is a soul, which we not all indicated. Even if this being did not really exist and were only a product of imagination, a specific term would still be needed to designate it. Okay? So this is another highlight that we have. Now, thus we might say, and would perhaps be the best plan to adopt, vital soul for the principle of material life, intellectual soul for the principle of intelligence, and spiritual soul for the principle of our individuality after death, in which case the vital soul would be common to all organ beings, animals and men. The intellectual soul would be the peculiar property of animals and men, and the spiritual soul would belong to the man only. So when we talk about soul, we'll be separating in the different types of soul. I know it's a little bit confusing, but if you get the Spirits of book, you'll be able to read the whole introduction to understand better. I'm summarizing, okay? So now we have another highlight here. Let me grab one more that I'm trying to summarize a little bit because it's very vast, okay? So when we're talking about God, Kardec, he went in various parts of the world and asking to many different people and many different religions, what was God? So he got to some conclusions when he went to those people, to different mediums and different religions. And he got some answers, which we're going to study a little bit later. But one that they described was the beings who does enter into communication with us, designating themselves, as we have said, by the name of spirits or genii, and as having belonged in many cases at least to men who have lived upon the earth. They say that they constitute the spiritual world, as we during our earthly life constitute the corporeal world. We will now briefly sum up the most important points of the doctrine which they have transmitted to us in order to reply more easily to the objections of the incredulous. God is eternal, immaterial, unique, all-powerful, sovereignly just and good. He has created the universe, which comprehends all beings, animated and inanimated, material and immaterial. The material beings constitute the visible or corporeal world, and the immaterial beings constitute the invisible or spiritual world. That is to say, the spiritual world or world of spirits. The spiritual world is the normal, primitive, eternal world, pre-existent, and surviving everything else. The corporeal world is only secondary. It might cease to exist, or never have existed without changing the essentially of a spiritual world. Spirits temporarily assume a perishable material envelope, the destruction of which by death restored them to liberty. Among the different species of corporeal beings, God has chosen the human species for the incarnation of spirits arrive at a certain degree of development, and which gives to a moral and intellectual superiority to all the others. The soul, it is incarnated spirit, superiority to all the others. The soul, that is a man, three things: the body or material being, or a spirit incarnated in the body. The link which unites the soul and the body, a principle intermediate between matter and spirit. Man has thus two natures. By his body, he participates in the nature of the animals, or which has the instincts. By his soul, he participates in the nature of spirits. The link, or perispirit, which unites the body and the spirits, is a sort of semi-material envelope. That is the destruction of the material body, which degrosses of man's two envelopes. But the spirit preserves his other envelope. Let's stop for a moment.